Perfect. So our speaker today is Lana Fan. Actually, it's Itaguchi now. She just got married in January. She's a good friend of mine, and she works for Fast Enterprises, which is actually the company my husband works for. I am a huge fan. I'm really excited for her to tell you guys about it today.
Hey everyone, my name is Lana Fan, and Itaguchi, still getting used to that. And today we're going to be talking about bridging business and software development in the role that I play in my company as an implementation consultant. So just a quick about me, I graduated from the University of Washington, Tacoma in 2015, so that's about 2.5 years ago. I graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts in Computer Science and a minor in Business Administration. And if you see my previous jobs, I used to be a birthday party planner, a student activity coordinator, a bubble tea barista, and all kinds of other odd end jobs. And one of the things that made me very nervous when I was getting ready to graduate school was, how does my old job history apply to any new job I'd want, especially when I was doing something as technical as computer science. And so like many of you right now, when I graduated 2.5 years ago during my senior year, all I cared about was just really getting a job. And unlike you guys that are online, I had a college career fair on my campus. And prior to going to the career fair, I tried to research the companies that I wanted to work for. And at that time, the only things I cared about was the reputation of the company and how I would be perceived by working for that company. And so my school was pretty small. The career fair was only about 20 employers. And all I wanted to work for, all I had my eyes set on was Microsoft and Boeing at the time. And those are obviously the more traditional companies for computer science. But as I went through the career fair and I sit in those very long lines just to talk to a recruiter, I would think about, who do I need to be hired for their company? And at that time, I thought they wanted just a very serious coder, someone that was very intense, probably a little bit more introverted. And so again, keeping that in mind, and then keeping in mind that my work history didn't necessarily support that image, I felt like I wasn't as a competitive option as many others. And so all of those emotions combined made me very, very nervous. And so when I finally got to the recruiter, I would put my serious face on and I introduced myself. And the first thing they always ask me is, why do you want to work for us? And my obvious response was, I just want a job. I'll do anything you want. Just let me work for this company. And as you can imagine, that conversation wasn't very long, or it wasn't very engaging. And so I left that experience thinking, oh man, I did a really bad job. And of course, I blamed the recruiter, because in my mind, the recruiter's job is to recruit me and not the other way around. And so I kind of went through the career fair doing the same thing. And then I didn't get very many conversations going on. Nothing was very engaging. And on my way out, I actually saw the Fast Enterprises booth, and there's only a couple people in line. I figured I had nothing to lose by going to talk to them. And so I did. And because I had nothing to lose, I was very transparent. I kind of took off my serious persona and I introduced myself and I said, hey, I've never heard of your company, but I'd be really interested to know what you guys do. And I'm not advocating for anyone to be ill-prepared, but I am saying explore all your options, especially when you're unsure of what the right fit for you is. Like I said, I was very, very honest with them. They told me about their company, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. And then they asked me, what do I like to do? And I told them, as much as I enjoy coding, it was a technical career fair, as much as I enjoy coding, I really enjoy business, which is why I got my business administration minor. And so I really liked working with people, working within business structures. I liked to be part of that process more than just an optimization of some type of solution. And in that moment of honesty, I allowed myself and the recruiter to have a very honest, authentic conversation. And that's kind of what led me to starting my career at this company that I've been at for 2.5 years. So, sorry, I should probably slow down. So just really quick agenda. The company we're talking about is Fast Enterprises. The position that I work as is an implementation consultant. And then the other things I'll be going over during this presentation is what I consider for looking for a job in your senior year and navigating the conversation from a recruiting perspective. Luckily, Fast gave me the opportunity to recruit back at my alma mater, And that gave me some insight that I think will be very helpful for you guys. So to get started, and why we're all here, the company Fast Enterprises. So Fast Enterprises is a software development and technical consulting company. And they have a very interesting and unique history from my perspective. So they started in 1997. We just celebrated our 20th year anniversary last June. And the way the company started was the founding partners were working at other software jobs, and they're working at tax software jobs. And what they noticed is every job they went to, they were building the same thing from the ground up. And they started noticing similarities, like in tax, everyone has to have a customer, all these customers have an account. And they thought of the idea of having something already established, and then when they go to new projects, they bring that along. Well, they presented that to their bosses. Their bosses didn't like the idea. And so they decided, you know what, we can do it. We can like dig deep, get together, make a product happen. And so they did. And about 2 years later, they came out with their first product called GenTax. It was a tax software that was first implemented in Canada. And from there, they have really expanded to other types of solutions, including driver vehicle services and unemployment insurance solutions. And so just a little bit more on that. We're currently in 9 different countries. We've implemented over 60 different projects. It's a very amazing thing to say, considering that we've only been around for about 20 years. And one of the things that FAST always loves to say about ourselves is that anytime we get hired by a client, we're always on time and on budget. And so what that means is when government agencies are having a really hard time with their current software, the most relatable type of software I can probably talk about is driver services. So if you ever had to sit in line at DOL and you had to like wait in the long queue, and then your paperwork took forever because the software was really old, because if you noticed on the monitor, they were staring at a black screen with some green text. Yeah, that's the old system that FAST comes and replaces. And so because we have the history of working with so many clienteles, and because we have established some type of core software to bring with us, we're able to finish a lot of these projects in about 2 to 3 years, depending on the scope of it. And that is much faster than many of our competitors, which take anywhere up to 8 to 10 years. We're also always on budget. And so a lot of the time when our other competitors start their project, they start running out of time. There's still a lot of tasks left to do. They start charging for more things, where FAST has always been very proactive about staying on time and on budget. And if any of you guys haven't heard about Glassdoor is like the Yelp for employers, and it's all based off of employee feedback. And so when I was hired by FAST 2.5 years ago, we were a medium-sized company, and we were actually rated the #2 greatest company on Glassdoor, medium-sized company on Glassdoor. Since then, we have evolved to a larger-sized company. Our company now has more than 1,000 people. And in respect to the larger companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Boeing, last year we were 6th place. And so it just speaks wonders to what the employees think of the company and kind of what we do for it. And again, just to kind of summarize, we are a software development and technical consulting company for government agencies. So I know that doesn't sound really exciting, but what we do honestly makes a huge difference. So kind of into the role that I play, I'm an implementation consultant. And so 80% of the company are actually implementation consultants. And what we are, we're half developers and we're half consultants. We work side by side with the government agency. And so when the government agency hires us, for example, I am an implementation consultant at the Washington Unemployment Insurance Project. So Washington UI hired FAST to come and pretty much redo their unemployment insurance software. And so what they did was they said, all right, we want to roll out in 3 years. Let's get 20 FASTies on our site, sit side by side with the people that will use this software moving forward, and let's get it going. And so that's what we do. And so the project as a whole has pretty different life cycles to it, but the beginning of the project is always a definition phase. And so during that time, we are really getting to know our clients. We're trying to understand what kind of business processes are important, and we're trying to document those business processes in relation to the software we're trying to build. It's a lot of navigating the conversation when you're an implementation consultant. So a lot of the time, your client will say something along the lines of, I just need this to pay your person out. And then we're going to have to help them think a little bit more as far as, well, how much do you want to pay them? How often? What's the duration of their payments? Are there reasons why they can't get paid? There's always more questions. And for them, they think of it on a very high level because to them, when they click a button, they expect something to happen. And so it expands their thought process a lot more to think about the downstream implications as we develop. And so there's a lot of back and forth that goes on. So after we go through a definition phase, we go through a development phase where, again, as a developer, I sit side by side with my client that's going to be using what I'm going to create. And they'll give me feedback as far as, yes, this meets my needs. No, this doesn't meet my needs. And that type of interaction was something I was very interested in finding when it comes to working for a company. Some people, as far as software developers, they don't like interacting with customers. If anything, they rather just work with the technical team. I have the type of personality that's very different than that. And so having more people than just a technical team to talk to was something I looked forward to when working for my job. And so kind of touching back to the project, the functional team, and the assigned tasks that we get. So I'm on the unemployment insurance site. It is one of the smaller sectors of fast enterprises. The majority of our product is actually GenTax, or the tax solution, and that's the solution that's implemented in the most states and the most countries internationally. And specifically, I work on the registration team for special programs. And so unlike some of our other projects, I work directly with people that are unemployed, meaning that they are trying to apply for benefits. So a lot of the work that we do is a little bit more intimate than the tax site, because the tax site more focuses on businesses and taxing the businesses in order to get state funding. And so unemployment insurance also has an extra challenge of being a little bit more sensitive. And so working for special programs means that someone has exhausted all of the benefits that Washington State has already allowed them, and they're actually going to apply for extenuating circumstances in these special programs. And so I get a lot of feedback as far as what are the downstream implications when we let one thing happen versus another thing. And so it's a lot of organization, it's a lot of conversation, things that I enjoy doing and things that I enjoy facilitating. The other great thing about working for FAST is that when you go to your project site, you have about 25 people on your site. The company is 1,000 people, but when you go to a specific project, there's only 25 of you. So you get a very large company support with a very small business type of feel, which is another thing that I really enjoyed having as well. I know every single person on my floor. I know their faces. I have an idea of who they are. And that type of transparency for me really encourages my workday. And then as far as functional teams, we all get divided up into different parts of the system. And then because I work especially on special programs, that's my own little like niche of what I do. So I have a lot of ownership in the work that gets produced. So part of being an implementation consultant and the daily duties and responsibilities that I have are a lot of problem solving. So on my project site right now, we have rolled out, meaning that we have gotten all of the definitions, we've gone through all of the testing, and now the product we created has gone live, and the people of Washington State are using our software. But like every other piece of software, there's little bugs that occur, there's little errors that occur. So we get a lot of those types of solutions that come our way, people saying, hey, I need you to fix this thing. It gets prioritized and so forth. Thank you. And so a lot of what we do is problem solving, we do a lot of debugging, and then when we can figure out what the solution is, we do a lot of quality assurance as far as making sure that the next thing that moves up to this production environment can work for the client. There is a lot of pressure around various times of the rollout cycle. And so for me, time management is very, very important, and expectation management is very, very important. So kind of going back to the rollout cycle, I wish I had a picture of this, but I didn't do that. But pretty much the rollout cycle is you start off with definitions. You get the definitions from the business. You ask them, what's your business process? Then you go through a development phase where you develop the software to support that business process. Then you go through a testing phase where they're just testing it and doing quality assurance of their own, making sure that what they want has been implemented into the system and they have 100% confidence in the system outcome every time they do an action. And typically during testing and system testing is when we have our most aggressive time, because we're trying to make sure that their feedback is taken in and we push up changes for their feedback as well. And so there's a lot of back and forth. So one of the things that we really emphasize during that time is overtime. And you're going to hear that in some companies, and some companies aren't as transparent about it as FAST is. But in FAST, you will have moments of time, sometimes weeks, it can be months, where you're going to work some overtime. It's never crazy. But the good thing about the overtime that we work is the whole team works it. So it's not like you're going through a school project and you're the only one that's staying up until 2 a.m. in the morning finishing this thing out. No, you have 20 other people exactly like you trying to push a product out together. And so everyone has the same type of pride and the same type of responsibility in what they're doing. But because of that, and because of all the hard work we do, the FAST culture is very work hard, play hard. So we understand that there's going to be really hard times of pushing through. But on my site specifically, we always have a monthly like get together with the team. We'll go, and some of the team bonding events we've done recently was we went paintballing, we go karting. We tried to just allow ourselves the time to just kind of unwind and to enjoy each other and remember that as much work as we have to do, it's still very important to maintain some of these friendships because it helps the work day along. Because again, some days can be very long. Some of the other things as far as expectation management goes is there's expectation management as far as you have to communicate up to your supervisors and your PMs to let them know, hey, here are all of the problems I have today. Here are the things I'm going to solve. Are these in line with what you want me to solve? And you also have to relay that information to your client as well, because your client could think something's more important than you think it is, and you guys have to get the same expectation as far as what is being worked on, what is being tested at a time. So being on the same page is very important when you are an implementation consultant. So I kind of rolled over implementation consultant and fast enterprises because I think what you guys are most interested in is what you're going to want to consider when you're looking for a job, especially as seniors. And so the things that I considered when I was looking for a job was company culture and personality fit. I looked at how does this company treat their employees? I looked at how can the company contribute to my personal career growth, and I looked at training opportunities. So as far as fast enterprises go, kind of touching back on the whole, you have a very large company that's supporting you, but you have a small company feel within your project. And so that was something that I really enjoyed. It's not like I go into a 19-story office, I sit on my floor and I just work away. I know all the faces on my project, and then I have opportunities to meet other people on their projects, and everyone has the same understanding of kind of what we're going through. I also thought fast enterprises was a really good personality fit for me. I consider myself an extroverted software developer, which isn't very common. I enjoy talking to people, understanding what their problems are, bringing that feedback in, and creating solutions that will universally pretty much work for everyone. And again, most people don't really care for the interaction part. They just want to know what they're doing. Some of the other things that you might want to consider is how does the company treat their employees? So FAST is very generous. We have a very competitive benefits if you were to get hired. As far as overtime goes, we do get compensated for overtime, which is very uncommon for software companies. Usually they just get salaried in. And then as far as how does FAST contribute to my career growth, I'm very interested in project management, and a lot of project management is managing time, managing expectations. So every day in my role, I get a little bit of a taste of that in just a little niche that I do, and so that kind of gets me going in that direction. And then I get to code every day, which is a very important thing as well. There are other consultants that don't get a chance to code, And those are just skills that I personally want to develop. And then you want to look at the company's training opportunities. So with fast enterprises, they're very good about growing and investing their own employees. So for me, one of the things that I acknowledged about myself was that I really want to get better at managing meetings. I felt like when I would go to my job, sometimes meetings would kind of get derailed and I didn't have a great way of bringing it back in. And so, I communicated that to HR. They told me that, hey, we have this type of training session coming up, and they allowed me to go to it. And the interesting thing about going to it isn't as simple as I'm going to go down the street and go to this training session. Our headquarters is actually in Denver, Colorado. And so they fly me out to Denver, Colorado to get these extra trainings that I feel like are important to my career growth. And just that type of responsiveness from an employer, to me, I found invaluable. It makes you feel like you get to grow. It makes you feel like they care about your growth. And I think that those are things that you want to consider when you look for a company to work for. And I think one of the most important things, especially when you're looking for a job, is to reflect on how you can contribute to the company. So one of the things that I have acknowledged during kind of like school and kind of during my experience at FAST was that I have my personality contribute on top of this skill set that I acquired from school. And to me, that was a differentiating factor compared to some of the other classmates that I had. And I really wanted to choose to kind of accept those unique things about myself and find a company that would also appreciate those types of behaviors. And so my personality might not fit every type of company. It might not fit an IT company that has different priorities. But as far as fast enterprises goes, I was a great candidate just because they're looking for extroverted software developers. They're looking for people that want to speak to clients, that care to problem solve, that want to go the extra mile, that isn't afraid of working overtime or kind of doing what it takes to get the project done. And they're not afraid to go the extra step for the clients and to kind of keep the whole fast enterprises reputation, really solid. And I think that that is one of the things that I really enjoy about working with fast, as far as I can contribute the type of energy that I have. I know that I'm a hard worker. And what's really great is that I know all the other people around me are hard workers. And that kind of just allows you to really, excel and see something really go further. And so one of the things that FAST allowed me to do was they allowed me to also recruit, which is why you get a little bit of a recruiting perspective on navigating a conversation. And so unlike you guys, I went to a traditional college, so there was a career fair on campus. And so I got to recruit at that career fair, and it gave me this complete new insight on what to do when you're talking to a potential employee. And so as you guys are kind of filling out your applications, looking for a new job to apply for, it's always really important to do your research on that company. And when I say do your research, I mean tailor your resume for that company and to be really transparent about what you're looking for. So I know you guys are chatting. Can you guys give me an idea of like what your degree is? Is it like finance? Is it project management? Is it like a variety of the two? Retail management, cool, great. So if you guys are doing things in retail management, you guys are doing management and marketing, those are the types of jobs you're looking for. But like, what about management do you really like? What kind of sector do you really enjoy working on? Like, I never thought I was gonna want to work in government software. That's not something that like, ooh, super appealing to me, right? But I liked what I did. I liked the fact that I got to be a consultant and I got to work with people. And so sometimes you're gonna have to assess whether or not you like the title or you like the job and the duties of it. And so again, being transparent, kind of reflecting on what's the position you're looking for, what kind of way do you want to contribute to this company? And I think it's also really important, again, to do your research because you want to contribute to a company that you're proud of. And so those are some things to kind of think in mind or to keep in mind. And then as you guys are filling out your resumes and hopefully tailoring it to the employer, front load your resume. When I was standing at a career fair looking at 40 different resumes because people are coming in my way, they are actually like, I don't have time to read every single word. And so when I say front load, I mean, if you have a bullet point, keep all the important things close to the bullet point. Because most recruiters read resumes the way I read them, and I read them like an F. So I read down, and then I read, is it your education and then your work experience? And then I try to look at the first couple of lines of your bullet points. The other thing that you should also do is when you're finding jobs that you want to apply for, read the job description, because they're pretty much giving you the checklist of what they're looking for, and make sure that you're front loading your resume with those particular skills. And so with, again, I don't really have a great example of that right now, but when I was applying for FAST, one of the things that they were looking for was someone that had some type of customer service experience. So I highlighted on those things because, again, my school experience alone contributed to the fact that I was technically skilled to code. But they were looking for something a little bit more. They were looking for a personality fit that kind of went along with the role. And so if you guys ever do get a chance to go to a career fair, these are like the same things that you should do. Do your research, because if you ever meet a recruiter, you want to be engaged with them right away. You want to cut off like that first 2 minutes of awkwardness where you're just like, I'm just trying to find a job. I just want to work here. No, you know exactly how you can contribute to this company, and that makes the conversation exponentially more interesting. And so one way that I do that now is put yourself into a recruiter's shoes. And they are pretty much, their job is to find potential people to work for their company. And they're looking for people that they don't have to pull teeth out of to like get some type of social interaction. They're looking for someone that like has the skills in order to like fulfill the job duty. And so as far as like checking the boxes to fulfill the job duty, you can do that in your resume. But if you ever get a chance to like meet a recruiter, I would always advocate for that, because that can be the difference between you and then someone else that only turned in a paper application. And I know as online students that can be really difficult. And so one of the things I would also recommend is if you want to work for a company, find one and you have like their LinkedIn profile, reach out to them and ask them for an informational interview. Informational interviews are pretty much, I'm interested in this position. I don't really know too much about it. I would really be interested in working for this company someday in this position. Do you have time to chat about it? It's a lot more casual than a formal interview where it's like a make it or break it, I'm going to get this job or not. It's more of a, tell me about this position. Let me tell you what I do. Do you think this is a good fit? And it's more of a casual conversation. I've done a couple of them at coffee shops with various employers, and it gives you a better idea of what they're looking for, what skills you can improve on. And again, it's just like Sarah said, it's a lot less pressure in that type of environment, and it's a lot more casual in that type of environment. So again, informational interviews, they're a great tool. Try to use them, try to reach out on LinkedIn. Let's see here. Oh, talk about your unique strengths and leave an impression. And then, oh, I skipped one. Always use school and work examples. Sorry. So if you ever get through an interview and like you start talking to the person that's trying to hire you, please, please, please always use school and work examples. I want to ask the candidate, please tell me a time you failed at something and what did you learn? And that person literally told me, yesterday I fell when I was trying a skateboarding trick and I learned to change my stance. And unfortunately, that didn't really contribute to anything that we were trying to solve within that interview. And so always be prepared and reflect on, you know, pretty much what you've done at school and what you've done at your own work to provide professional examples of how you overcame things. A lot of interviews now seem to be kind of going more off of soft skills on how do you handle times of pressure? How do you manage your time? Give us an example of when you had to work with a very difficult person and how did you address that? Like those types of social skills, no matter where you go, you're going to be asked those types of questions, and kind of being able to have an example from school and work right off the tongue is really great. And then finally, talking about your unique strengths and leave an impression. So if you get a chance to talk to recruiters, that's fantastic. It's hard to leave an impression if you're just sending an application in online. I know that's really difficult. But if you get to talk to a recruiter, leave an impression. Give them something to remember you by. And so for me, when I was going through all these career fairs and I was trying to figure out, like, how do I get this person to remember me over 40 other people or 100 other people that they met, I tried to come up with something relatable to their company. And so there was a time where I would thought that it would be really cool to work for Disney. And again, company reputation versus what you do. And so I would tell them things like, I would love to be a software developer and I would love to work on the first Iron Man. And then you have like this very personable point of like contact where they're like, oh, it's that one girl that like wants to work on Iron Man. That was funny. Maybe, sure. Or maybe it was awkward. Who knows how they're going to kind of take it. But leave a really like personable impression, because when they're kind of thinking of all the candidates going through resumes, oh, you'll be surprised. Sometimes you get stacks about like this big at a career fair. I was just at Grace Hopper in Florida, and that's a women in computing science convention, and we were doing a career fair there. And you don't remember very many people. And so it's always really nice to be the one that stands out, where they're like, oh, yes, I was talking to her. And maybe her skill set, because of her work experience or her school experience, doesn't quite fit, but she gave me some type of idea or some type of impression that she could fit this role really well. And so I know I'm talking a lot about career fairs. Unfortunately, that's the experience that I have, but I do think that you can kind of carry it along to interviews. And I think you can definitely carry it on to informational interviews if you're able to reach out to a recruiter and kind of talk to them through that. And so I'll leave you with this. Find out what you like doing best and get someone to pay you for doing it. So I liked coding and I liked talking to people, and it was a really good fit for Fast Enterprises, and they pay me to do it, and it's great. And I find a lot of purpose in doing it. Again, I work for unemployment insurance, so pretty much the code that I write allows someone to get paid the next day as far as, I don't know, paying for their home, getting groceries for their kids. To me, it's very meaningful over some of the other roles that I could be doing. Questions, and hopefully some answers. Thank you. Thank you, Leah. So Fast Enterprises is a pretty flat company. It's 80% implementation consultants. And so you pretty much move, again, pretty horizontally. And so you go into new roles, but you don't ever get an official, you don't ever get like official new title. So for example, if you worked at like Amazon, sometimes you get software developer 1 and then you get promoted to 2 and 3. Fast Enterprises doesn't really offer that. You're always an implementation consultant with certain types of expertise. Let's see here. Kimberly, just to kind of talk on you being in a different field but still relative. So I also did a business administration minor. I don't know if you were there when I mentioned that, but I took like marketing classes and I took business management classes. And again, that contributed to the fact that I didn't want to just work for a company that I just coded in. It gave me another point to reflect on as far as how do I want to contribute? What are the things that interest me? And Fast Enterprises was just one of those areas that I could do that for. The other thing I should probably mention with Fast Enterprises is that we hire people with just a bachelor's degree. You don't have to have a computer science degree. We actually have a lot of people that have been hired that are finance majors, math majors. We're looking for problem solvers. So don't think that just because I've been kind of talking about software development that you couldn't apply to be an implementation consultant. You could, as long as you kind of show your ability to problem solve. You mentioned FAST's unofficial motto of work hard, play hard. We heard a lot about the hard work. What are some of the benefits in play? So unfortunately, I can't break down the benefits, but I can say it's competitive to other companies. And as far as the play goes, our partners are fantastic. One of the things that we all look forward to every year is something called our annual general meeting. It's an opportunity for everyone in the company to get together in one spot and really celebrate the year. And so this upcoming year, we're going to Orlando, Florida. But last year, we actually went to the Bahamas, and we got to, again, meet people that we probably haven't met before, get a chance to kind of relax. It gives us an opportunity as employees to kind of refresh with our families as well, because FAST also will have you bring your family along to really enjoy that particular experience. Yes, so that's some of the play that we do as well. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading Samantha's comment. What advice would I give to younger students, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors that could help them look for starting for careers? Okay, so this was like a personal thing that I always was raised to do, but you should have a degree that supports your career. So right now, a lot of the people that I kind of get when I go recruiting is, hey, I have this degree, you should hire me because I have this degree. And that's not quite enough for us to get a good conversation going, because we want them to also be interested in the company. You don't want just anyone that's going to be like, yeah, I'll work for you. Like, you want someone that's actually interested. It's kind of like dating, right? You're not going to just like date anyone that's like, oh yeah, let's go and hang out. No, you want someone that has an interest, that wants to get to know you, that wants to contribute to the particular company. So as freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, I think the best thing that you guys can do is identify the companies you would want to work for. So if, let's say, Forbes is like, or Merrill Street is one of like the big companies that you want to work for. Did I say Merrill Street? Merrill Lynch, sorry. Merrill Lynch is one of the big companies that you want to work for. Great. Identify the company and then identify the position you want to work for. Because what happens is they put up job postings. They're going to put up job postings. They're going to tell you what skills they're looking for, and you kind of tailor your curriculum to like obtain those skills. So for me, when I was going through computer science, I actually started as a computer engineering major, and then I realized that I hated hardware. I just did not care for it at all. And so, that taught me something that I didn't want to do. And so I tailored my search from like Boeing to some other companies that kind of fit my personality more. So really kind of consider your personality, the types of ways you can contribute, and then look at the career itself, look at the position. Because as a software developer, personally, I can contribute the way I do for any company. Almost every company now needs some type of software developer. And so look at the way you can contribute, and then find the company that kind of matches your style, matches your personality, matches the culture that you can grow in. Mm-hmm. Oh, Kimberly, just so you know, I did not know about Fast Enterprises prior to going to a career fair. I had no idea who they were. I went to a career fair hoping to like land a job at like Boeing or Microsoft, which are like local Washington companies. And then the Fast Enterprises line was really short. And so I figured I had nothing to lose, and so I went and talked to these people, and I was very transparent with them and the types of things I was interested in. And they told me that they had a role that they think would fit my personality, and that's kind of how I got that conversation started. So research can go a long way, but sometimes you just want to start talking to people, especially kind of in your senior, junior year. You get the opportunity to say, hey, I'm a student. I have a passion for this. Do you have something that kind of like is kind of in line with that? And if you do, can we have a conversation about what it takes for me to do that as a full-time career or a long-term career? Mm-hmm. Here. How do you suggest finding out what you like best, specifics to look for in a job? What do you honestly, I did the best in my project management classes. I think school has a way of kind of showing you like what you're good at. There's some classes that kind of come easier to you. There's some classes that are more interesting to you, and start there. So for me, I really liked project management. I was looking for roles in project management at one point, but then I had a whole degree in computer science and I knew the value of that. So I was trying to find a balance between the two. And it was interesting because when I was trying to look for a balance between the two, I tried to go for the more traditional route of I'm just going to be a software developer. and that's kind of all I had my eyes on. But similar to computer science, business has a lot of applications to it. You can be a PM for Adobe, the way you can be a PM for Pinterest, the way you can be a PM for community rec center. And so the skill set is there. The skill set is common throughout all of these different entities. And so you just have to really assess the company and again, take interest in the company and make sure that that's really transparent with whoever you're talking to. Do I have any tips on networking? No. Josh, are you talking about networking at like a career fair? Are you talking about networking at like a very general meet and greet? Are you talking about just like casual networking where you're just gonna go and meet people? General, okay. As far as networking goes, it's gonna sound really nerdy. Have your resume on you as much as you can. Honestly, you'll be surprised. And one of the things that I did when I was going to school, this is gonna be kind of lame, is I took my school books with me to a lot of places because you'd be surprised how many people are like, hey, you're studying this thing, let's talk about it. I actually met the Starbucks IT director on a train on my way home because I was sitting on the train across from him and he was like, hey, you're studying computer science? And I said yes. And then we had a whole conversation about, well, what do you do at Starbucks and what kind of things does the technical department look for and what kind of skill sets do you look for? And I had that conversation with him in my freshman year. Some of the other suggestions I have for networking is bring a buddy. It is very intimidating to go networking by yourself because you don't really have a landing spot. So bring a buddy, bring someone that would be interested in doing the same thing. And at a minimum, if they're not interested in networking, just let them know that, you need a buddy and just tell them to sit in a spot and you're going to go mingle and hopefully they'll be pretty supportive of that. And then as far as more tips on networking, try your best to, never mind, scratch that. If you don't have this app or you haven't used this service, it's called Meetup. Meetup is a great tool to find networking events. So through Meetup, I found Women in Computing Science, I found Girls Who Code, I found these affiliations that, are pretty large in the city that I live in. And so I was able to go to these general meetups with them. And then I got to get to know this whole network of women in computing science that I wouldn't have gotten to know otherwise. So Meetup. What's your opinion on using business cards with an instant links? Business cards are great. There's no harm in having business cards. Sometimes people kind of go against it only because it seems really, really formal. But I think business cards are great. Have a very professional email on your business card. I've had a business card with very childlike emails, and then you just automatically don't take that person seriously anymore. So make sure that your business card, you guys are taking business classes, it's just your professional self. It's the person that you want to project yourself to be. However, I have seen fun business cards too, and those are memorable. So it kind of depends on the type of vibe you're trying to give off. Yes, I agree with Sarah. LinkedIn would be great on a business card. If you guys have anything that you've ever contributed online, as far as like you had to help a business with the thing and they gave you props on it, definitely throw on your resume. I don't think you can throw that on a business card. But, on your business card, especially if you're just going to school, to say that you're a student on there and say that you're a student interested in project management, you're a student interested in marketing, you're a student interested in digital marketing, and that kind of gets that particular person a point to kind of remember you on. Oh. Just trying to make sure I didn't miss any comments. Sarah mentioned, Josh, you might have missed me talking about information interviews. So I just touch on that again really quick. Pretty much, if you think you might be interested in working for a company, reach out to one of their recruiters and ask them for an informational interview. It's different than a formal interview where there's not the pressure of landing the job. It's more of a conversation with that recruiter to find out, am I a good fit for your company? What does your company do? Here are my skill sets. Do you think you have a role that fits it? Am I close? If I'm not close and I want to work in this position, what do you think I have to do? Again, recruiters' jobs are all about finding good fit for this role. And half of the challenge has already been taken away by, having a job description for you to look at. Because if at a minimum you're meeting, 60, 70% of the job requirements to work for that position, after that, it's just a whole conversation about, does this position work for your personality? Does it work for your home life? Can you sustain it? Can you be interested in it? Can you truly contribute in the way that you're going to contribute in it? And I think one thing that people don't acknowledge is the fact that as many people there are that are looking for jobs, they might be able to do the same work that you do, but they can't do it the way you do. And so kind of talking about the fact that, you're very interested in the company, you're very interested in what they're doing. Kind of like how I think someone said that I'm pretty passionate about it. Like that comes through as often as I can get it through because it gets other people interested and it makes them understand that I'm serious about the fact that I really enjoy what I do. I enjoy working for FAST. I think it's a great company to work for. Just like when I was a student, I'm a really hard worker. I can make it happen if you give me the chance to make it happen. If there's something you think I'm lacking, please let me know. And can I reapply for the position when I think I'm ready? It's persistence goes a long way. Passion goes a long way because you can only imagine when you're trying to talk to people as a recruiter, like as someone that's trying to hire for a position, if the person you're talking to is flat, if the person you're talking to doesn't seem interested, you don't feel like they care. And so kind of having that extra like gusto to go about you, that will go a long way. And let me also say, by nature, I'm actually very introverted. I can only recharge by myself. But I know that in a very professional setting, being introverted doesn't help me for what I want to do. And so it's a choice for me to be extroverted. And the only way you can really make it more natural is to practice. The more you do something, the more it becomes your behavior, the more you get familiar with it and kind of your persona as that, such as that. And so when I was working some of my other jobs, they forced me to be very, very customer service heavy. Again, I used to be like an administrative assistant, so I had to be very professional to people that weren't always professional. And that experience kind of helped me in FAST when I had similar situations. Yes. What other questions do you guys have? Hopefully these are answers that you guys are interested in. And going through. Okay, cool. If you guys want to get in touch with me at any point, Sarah has my contact information. I'm more than happy to kind of help you guys out. If you guys ever need like a second set of eyes to look at your resume, or you want just to have a conversation about like direction and if you're kind of looking along the right path. I needed it when I was going through school and I had that resource. And if, especially as online students, I don't think you guys might have that. I don't think you guys have that resource as readily available. So again, yeah, oh, absolutely. And it's Lana fan on LinkedIn. You might have missed it, Samantha. I recently got married, so at some point my name might change to Lana Itaguchi. So, yep, those are the two names I'll go through. Awesome. you guys are more than welcome. Again, you can connect with me through LinkedIn, or if you really want to have a personal phone call, I'm sure Sarah can get me connected.